So, this is going to be a continuation of my Teach Smarter, Not Stricter video. A couple of days after I made that, my little brother came to me and said that his advisory teacher, which is apparently a class he attends once a week in the high school, separate from the occasional meetings with a guidance counselor, and was told, almost in exact quotations, you need to eliminate every bit of time in your life that is not focused on schoolwork or school revolved activities. Any extra time, eliminate any extra activities not necessary to focus on schoolwork. Okay. So I'm going to say directly to anyone who is a teacher, principal, school administrator, counselor, anyone involved with the educational system these days. What are you doing? Really, how has teaching become this idiotic? Now you listen to me and you listen closely, because I've been through the public school system. I graduated from high school with high grades, from college with a GPA of 3.5, and was about to go to graduate school for a master's, but I recently was offered a position with my local Natural History Museum, so that's not a rush. I may pick that up, I may not. See where the jobs lead me. The amount of school and schoolwork is completely unnecessary that is being given these days. You realize that in the current Western world, children in school, and by children I mean teenagers as well, are in school for usually between 6 and 8 hours, between the ages of 5 when they enter kindergarten to when they come out of college in their early to mid-20s, is about finishing college. And that's not considering subsequent special programs like master's or doctorate or military training or any education that follows. That's 20 years. 20 years of focusing your life and your efforts on education, on classes and lessons that are largely repetitive, don't change or advance all that much as you move up the grades, save for a little more detail that you can handle as you get older, throughout the years, the grades. But how many times did we have to learn grammar and very basic writing in English classes? Structuring sentences. I know there are plenty of students who aren't the best writers and for whom English is a second language. Even for those, this is dragged out incredibly long. Several times throughout, let's see, when you begin those, maybe late elementary school. It goes up easily throughout the entire high school, to my recollection, and the next year, and the next year, and the next year, and they don't change that much, the lessons. For how many years in a row was the cruelty of white imperialism shoved down our throats? I recently got my hands on the newspaper that my brother's high school puts out every so often. I don't remember how frequent it is, but it was a sub sandwich shop that I went to for lunch that had copies of them. And everything about the national issues, the race relations issues, in that paper today, all of it is still blaming whites. There's no imagination that something else might be going on. I really thought that at some point, after having this shoved down our throats for, well, not only years but generations, really, if you really think things aren't getting better, maybe you're going after the wrong problem. While at the same time, as people are going on about, white racism, white supremacy, speaking disproportionately so little about the wars and atrocities in other regions throughout history, barring, I suppose, the Nazi regime and Holocaust, which ended almost 70 years ago, and yes, has effects that have lasted until the present day, but those aren't really discussed in how the lessons learned from that time are applicable to today's situations. Or they are completely misrepresented, as we see in the baseless comparison of President Trump to Hitler, which is unbelievable bullshit. Trump is nothing like Hitler. That needs to stop. How many times did we have to read books that we will likely never read again and barely remember? Or those Shakespearean plays which were never written to be read as books? How often do we use long division, algebraic proofs, and quadratic formulas in everyday life? Unless you go on to be a mathematician, but that's a highly specialized field where you will get, most likely, extra training after high school and college. Again, the lessons, the amount of time schools spend on these skills, which are of very little use in real adult life, are just dragged out far too long. How often are taxes explained, let alone honestly? How often is the Constitution of the United States of America really explained? Hillsdale College has online courses on it, which are very good, but you don't get those in government schools, which should be an irony. I do subscribe to their imprimis, which I will talk about at times. When they talk about global warming, do they really go into the unimaginable complexity of climate science? And this is a subject that I spent a lot of time on. I'm an ecologist, also overlapping into geology and paleontology, but this is like my area, and it is insanely complex. Climate science is one of the most complex sciences of all, unless you're going to talk about something like quantum physics, which boggles my mind. Not my specialty, but I can often follow a little bit about what other areas in science are talking about. Climate science has so many factors involved, so many still not being taken into account, even by the the IPCC reports, the scientific articles, the official documents. There's a lot still not understood, ignored here, ignored there. We actually live in a very stable period in Earth's history compared to other times in geological history. The Earth has often been much warmer on average than today. Now, I am no global warming denier, but right now, both sides of the debate have become so politicized that I don't trust anyone at this stage. I need to research from the ground up all over again. You know that teacher's voice from the Peanuts, the Charlie Brown cartoons? That's literally what it is in school. All day, every day, for children, teenagers, and young adults. It's actually one reason why I was quite happy to put further schooling on hold for a while, not knowing if I ever will go back. It's just I've dedicated enough of my life to classes. A to Z, divide, subtract. This work is driving me crazy. Teacher, teacher, get off my back. Kid boy, stop making me lazy. No time for friends. No time for being a kid, or family time, or work outside of school. And forget any time for finding a girlfriend or for girls a boyfriend. This completely destroys the normal experiences a person should have growing up and should be going through. There are ways to explore inquisitiveness besides taking classes for many years, much better ways. A lot of the natural sciences I actually learned more from watching documentaries, from narrated by by very good storytellers, rather than classes. I did have some very good teachers in high school and college, but it was one here, it was one there, again, and even though I had good classes and good teachers. Again, it's how long it's dragged out these days. It's too long. Yes, school hours are long to occupy children during the long work days of parents, but the problems remaining are the kids aren't getting much real-world applicable knowledge and skills, and so it wastes time for them while taking away their time to be kids. And it gives them work after school that interferes further with friend and family time. Homework. Have you ever heard teachers say, for every hour you spend in class during the day, you should be spending an hour of homework at night? My brother, sisters, and I certainly have. That was another thing shoved down our throats a lot. We got that all the time. And not only is that ridiculous, it pretty much means kids are supposed to do schoolwork nonstop. And for what? A high school education and a college degree? Well, the reality is, a degree is only required for your first job because it's said on paper that it is required. This degree is required. Outside of special training, such as a trade, like mechanics or engineering, medical or law school, military training, which you can sign up for right out of high school, or something exceedingly specialized, college no longer gives you knowledge much different from high school at all. At least that was my experience, and the experience of many. You know that joke that college these days has basically become adult daycare? It's true. School has almost universally become, well, daycare, but also prisons, where kids and young adults are over-supervised, micromanaged, given no opportunity to practice independence. I mean, recess is gone, time with friends is gone, school lunches are horrible, you barely get enough time to eat anyway. Adults at a typical workplace have an hour for lunch. Kids in school, many of them, don't even get a half an hour. It really is best to pack a lunch yourself to eat at school. At least you can eat right away, and it's almost always going to be better than that government school slop. Yeah, talk about blowing chunks. Yeah, just bring your own snacks, your own lunch. That's what I still do at work anyway. People think sending kids to school is better than them working. Except that throughout human history, children have usually worked as a way to help support their families and, gain a foothold into the workforce. Whereas now they're put through 20 years or so, or more, of school where they earn no wages at all, apart from those who are able to maintain a job on the side of their studies, which is actually a very good idea. The problem being that government education seems to only be able to ever increase restrictions instead of relaxing them. And now, managing a part-time job, a stable relationship with family, friends, and in the teen years and beyond, a love interest, as well as schoolwork, is getting more and more difficult. Whereas in fact, everything I just listed before schoolwork is much more valuable to learning about life, learning how to live your life.